Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Please come closer, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa, amma ba'd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us the deen of Islam, and this Islam is based upon 5 pillars. بني الإسلام على 5 شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وصوم رمضان وحج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا. As I always say that there are not 500 pillars or 50 pillars or 15 pillars, only 5 pillars. So each one of these pillars is like 1/5 of the deen, 20% of our deen. So imagine how important it is. And if one of the pillars are not established correctly, are not performed in the correct manner, then the entire structure of Islam will collapse. And zakat is amongst them. So alhamdulillah, the reason we have the slides as well is so that we can focus, inshallah, and be able to catch maximum information. And just like we did the presentation on dua, I was going through it fast. So I want to give a heads up, I'll be going quite fast through this so that we can answer your questions at the end, which is the most important part. However, the experience has shown that a good 90% of the questions are of material that was covered just now. So that shows us that if we pay attention, inshallah, then the question automatically will be answered. One of our teachers, Hafidhullah, whenever we would ask a question, then he would raise his hand and show his 3 fingers, and he would give that indication. And he explained that in the beginning of the year. He would say that either this has already been covered and you forgot, or it's coming ahead and just wait, or it's not relevant to the topic. Right, so one of the 3. Because if it's relevant, it's either going to be covered or will be coming, if it's not answered right now. So, Brother Yaqub or Mawlana Farhan can give us some help with the IT, inshallah. So we are talking about, inshallah, zakat, an obligation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I'm saying I'll go fast, just to give you an idea, I don't want to scare you right now, but this typically has taken up to like 4 hours. So like 3 hours and then a 1 hour Q&A. So we're not going to do that. Nobody is going to sit here for 4 hours right now. Sure, I'm sure, definitely not. I don't know about you. There are fadail and masail in our deen. Fadail are virtues. What are the virtues of giving zakat? What are the warnings for not giving zakat? And then there's a masail, how to. We want to focus on that. So this agenda, what is zakat, the lughwi, istilahi, the terminological meaning of it, we're not going to spend too much time. What are some verses in the Quran and Hadith we will kind of gloss over. The spiritual significance. These are all important things. But if you want to actually hit the ummahatul masail, the actual important fiqh mabahis and discussions of zakat, that who is required to give zakat. The purpose of going through this agenda is so that we are looking forward and we know where to, inshallah, put our attention. Like when we make mutala'a as students, لِتَمِيزَ الْمَعْلُومَاتِ مِنَ الْمَجْهُولَاتِ, to differentiate what do we know, what do we not know. So we need to focus on who is required to give. Yani upon whom is it wajib? Who are responsible, they're liable to pay. So that's on the paying side. And how the calendar works. The hawlanul hawl, the passing of the year. You might say, hey, the year passes, yeah, but it's more than that, as we will see. And then assets liable for zakat. All the assets that we have, which ones are zakatable, which ones are not zakatable. That's a FAQ. And then the beneficiaries of zakat, who are eligible recipients. Eligible recipients. So there's the one giving, that's number 4, who's required to give. Then what is he giving? There's a giver who is required to give, that's number 4. And what is he giving? Is your number 6. And when does he have to give? That's your number 5. And who does he have to give to is number 7. Depending on when, how much time it takes, we may do these practicals or we may skip it for another time. Practicals is also very fun. Everyone enjoys it because there are there's a quiz at the end. وعند الامتحان يكرم الرجل أو يهان. So we see that, how that test goes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So zakat, there's a literal meaning is purity, blessing, growth. But in the Sharia, it's tamliku ba'di malin. It is when you transfer the ownership of money that the Sharia has defined. Ayyanahu shari' li faqirin muslimin, to an eligible recipient for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing that's key here is that it's tamliku, that you have to pass it into their ownership. So if you're building a well and you grant that well to an individual, it enters into his ownership, then that's fine. But if you're building a well and no one is the owner of it, or an organization will own it, then that would not be zakat eligible. So it has to enter the possession. Okay, tamlik. So there are people, if they come to receive zakat and they show an eviction notice, so you write the check to the landlord. They show a disconnection notice from ComEd, you write it to ComEd, to Nicor Gas, to help them. So ComEd, Nicor Gas, landlord, they are not zakat eligible recipients. So zakat would not be discharged. It has to be given to the faqir. Sometimes people are trying to be super careful and they say that no, they may take the money and go buy alcohol. Well, that's upon them. If they are a needy recipient, you can give them the money, the zakat will be discharged. There are different ayats in the Quran, aqimu salah wa atu zakah. Allah Ta'ala speaks about zakat and different virtues of it. And a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about it being obligatory. Many spiritual significances of salat: it purifies one's wealth, purifies one's soul. It creates a bridge between the affluent and the needy. Equitable distribution of resources, increases barakah in one's wealth. And Allah commands us to give it. So therefore it is an obligation upon us whether we understand the benefits or not. In this case, we do understand many benefits. In short, when we talk about children or youth being very naive, you say that they have all these idealistic dreams of let's end world hunger and world poverty and bring world peace, and then as you grow older you realize that hey, that's not really going to happen. It actually could happen if zakat was established and people would pay zakat, because zakat is not on the income like income tax, it's on savings. So it's 2.5% of savings. So the zakat amount would be a lot depending on how much savings there are in the Muslim Ummah globally. So there would be the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, they would all be out of business. There would be prosperity throughout the world if we would fulfill this obligation globally. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah will multiply the reward 700 times, multiply the not only the reward but the wealth in itself in this dunya. وَمَا أَتِيتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. Riba will destroy the economy and zakat will give you more barakah. On the other hand, there are warnings. Bashiro wa nadhira. He brought glad tidings and he warned those who do not give the zakat. For them, يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ. They hoard the gold and silver. وَلَا يُنْفِقُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. They do not give in the path of Allah. For them is عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, grievous punishment. It will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam. فَتُقُوَى بِهَا جِبَاهُمْ وَجُنُوبُهُمْ وَظُهُورُهُمْ. They will be branded on their heads, forehead, sides and backs. When they saw the faqir coming, they frowned with their forehead. So that is why their forehead will be branded. Then they turn 90 degrees, وَجُنُوبُهُمْ, their side. Then they turn 180 degrees, their backs. هَذَا مَا كَنَزْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. This is what you saved and hoarded for yourself. فَذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْنِزُونَ. Now feel the pain of what you hoarded. Allahumma fasana. Right. So these are punishments mentioned. So Yaqub can also help us like why this is getting stuck, if you can hear me. And okay, now it came, inshallah. I think you need to sit around here, inshallah. Okay, it sees you and it starts working. So in Bukhari, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned another very severe warning about this is a very dangerous, horrific, scary punishment about the bald-headed poisonous snake, 2 black spots over the eyes. It will encircle the neck and bite his cheeks. Ana maluk, ana kanzuk. I am your wealth, I am your treasure. So may Allah Ta'ala protect us. The bottom line is we must discharge our zakat. Who is required to give zakat? Okay, this is where the fiqh starts. So we're going to kind of slow down here. Who is required to give? Number one, Muslim must be a Muslim. The non-Muslim does not have to give salah, pray salah, give zakat, go for hajj. There's only one farad thing on a non-Muslim, and that is to accept Islam. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Once he accepts Islam, then everything applies. Muslimun aqilun, so aqil's coming later. Balighun, to be an adult. Does not apply to children's wealth. So if there's money that are in the children's account and they are the owner of that money, you gave it to them, there's no zakat on the non-baligh, on the child, until they reach bulugh. And after they reach bulugh, at the age of like 13, or a girl 10 years old, 9 years old even, sometimes 11, on their first menstruation, then if there is jewelry given to them or cash given to them and it's in their possession, it's in their ownership, whether it's being in the possession of the parents, to ensure that the zakat is valid, when you're discharging it, you have to make sure that you tell them, you don't have to tell them the amount of the money, but you have to tell them that I'm discharging zakat on your behalf. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So people make mistake on two sides. One mistake is of a lesser nature, one is a bigger mistake. The less problematic mistake is they just get extra credit, thawab, is when they give the zakat on behalf of children, whether it's college fund or marriage fund or whatever the fund may be, from when they are minors. When zakat was not wajib to begin with, that will all become sadaqah. And the other mistake is after they become baligh, they are giving the zakat on their behalf, but they don't tell them. If they don't tell them, the zakat is not ada, because there's no niyyah of the owner. Just like if a husband gives zakat on behalf of his wife, he has to take her permission, not permission, but he has to inform her that you want to call it permission, take permission, say that I want to give zakat on behalf, do you give your niyyah or not? And they have to be aqil. If someone is insane and they inherit money, they do not have to give zakat. And the important thing is they have to be in possession of a nisab, which equals a threshold at the start and the end of the lunar year. Right? The nisab. If you want to go, basically what was happening, it wasn't working out. Is there a connection issue? No, I'm not sure. Okay, so I don't want to hold you back. Just hear if I call you, then you. Okay. So, the nisab is the minimum wealth required to pay zakat is called nisab. Right? Nisab is the minimum wealth. That's a threshold, which is not something scholars came up with. It doesn't fluctuate based on the economy. It's something set by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's two nisabs. One is nisab of gold, which was in the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam 20 dinars, 20 gold coins, equivalent to 87.48 grams today. And the silver, which was 200 dirhams. But today is equivalent to 612.36 grams. Not today, it's been like that from the time grams were standardized as a unit of measurement of weight. But silver is, nisab is 612.36 grams. That does not fluctuate. What does fluctuate is the price of gold and silver every hour, global markets. And you can go goldprice.com, silverprice.com and find it. Alhamdulillah, we have this facility on our website, this service where the nisab of gold and the nisab of silver, hourly it gets updated based on the live market prices. So you don't have to do the calculation. Otherwise you would have to find the gold price times 87.48. That's what the back end it does on the formula on the website. So what is the value of that? See here on the bottom it says as of 4/3/2024. Live market value updated at April 3rd, 2024, 2006 PT, right? So at this time, this is when we updated it for just tonight's presentation. But on the website, it's every hour. So you take the 87.48 grams times the gold rate per gram equals $6,471. That's the nisab of gold. The nisab of silver is way less, $536. So when you have cash, say you don't have gold or silver, you have cash. So at what point do you have to give zakat? So traditionally, many of the books of fatwa, dollars are neither gold nor are silver, they're dollars or riyals or rupees or whatever, pounds and euros. So the scholars used to go with that which is anfa' lil fuqara, that which is more beneficial for poor people. And that would be that more people should give zakat. That's how it traditionally had been. So the gold nisab was higher than the silver nisab. The disparity wasn't this much before. It wasn't this crazy because the gold price has gone up significantly compared to silver. In the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you recall just a slide ago, how much was it in his time? It was 20 gold coins, right here, let's go back. 20 gold coins and 200 silver coins. So the value of gold and silver the ratio was 1 to 10. Right? The purchasing power of 20 mithqal was similar to 200 dirhams. You understand? The purchasing power of 20 gold coins was approximately equal to 200 silver coins. So the value of gold was what? 10 times. But now, if you take it, it's 6,471 versus 536. Yeah. So it's the gold price has gone through the roof. So the scholars would say that, okay, before the gold price became this crazy, if you read fatwa, classical fatwa, they say that if you have dollars and you hit the silver nisab, it's farad on you should give zakat. Don't say, oh, I don't qualify, I don't have to give, I'm not obligated because I haven't hit the gold. Go with the lower. So more people give zakat. That was the idea. But because of the current situation, it's actually going to be more harmful by obligating zakat on the silver nisab. Not only on the giving side, but also on the receiving side. How so? It's because, first of all, on the giving side, if somebody only has 536 is the nisab, right? So if he has $537, $540, $600, you'll say you have to give zakat. That's really not a lot of money that he has. His total cash on hand that's it. If he has a bank account, checking account, or he has cash under his pillow, wherever it is in his wallet, that's all the money. Kul kainat, that's all he has. And so you're telling him you have to give zakat. What do you think? He's a person who is financially not so strong. Poor, if it's considered a bad word, then we should help him rather than ask him to give more, right? And that's the one problem with the go with the silver nisab. And the other problem is that if you're going to go with the nisab, on the giving end there's a problem, and on the receiving end, who is eligible to receive? Eligible to receive, mustahiq to receive, is a person who does not possess nisab. So if a person has $540, you cannot give him zakat money. Because why? Yeah, you're a sahib nisab, you own a nisab, you are a possessor of nisab, malik of nisab. So you can't receive zakat money. He says, man, all I have is $540 total, my bank balance. Look at this. No, you can't take zakat because you own the nisab. You understand? Third problem is even beyond the above, if there could be something. Which is that? What is that problem? That problem is that for who has to give qurbani, udhiyah on the time of Eid? Eid al-Adha, not Eid al-Fitr. Eid al-Fitr is Sadaqat al-Fitr. Eid al-Adha is the qurbani. Qurbani is wajib without the condition of being in possession of nisab for a year. Just on the day of Eid, when the Tulu' al-Fajr al-Sadiq, when the morning of Eid comes, if you are in possession of nisab on that day, you have to give one goat or 1/7 of a cow, right? So a person has $540, he has to give a goat. Goat could be $300 even. So more than half of his entire assets will be going for the goat. So therefore, the later day scholars say that with respect to who is eligible, who is what, liable to pay as well as eligible to receive, in both sides we can go with the gold nisab. I just pause for a moment here because this is something different than what many people may have read or have heard. That's why I explained how it has changed. So our Ustad Mufti Hafidhahullah in Fatawa Darul Zakaria, American Fiqh Academy over here as well, they have all given fatwa to go with the gold nisab. In our zakat calculator on the Darul Islam website that we worked really hard in making it, you have an option. Select, you want to go with gold or you want to go with silver. If a person actually has only gold, then they will have to go with the gold nisab. If a person only owns silver, they will go with the silver nisab. If a person owns mixed, That's when you can go with the gold, as we're talking about now. Now, this is something which is important. I told you about the calendar. Like, why is the calendar such an important thing? It's because people get confused about this all the time. First thing to note is that we're talking about the lunar calendar, not the solar calendar. And that makes a difference because the lunar calendar is shorter. You have 29 and 30 days. Solar calendar is what? 30 and 31 days. That's why Ramadan moves, Hajj moves, right? Sometimes it's in the summer, now it's in spring, it's going to go back because the lunar year is shorter. So if somebody is very punctually giving zakat every year on January 1st, he doesn't even delay. Not December 31st, but January 1st. Every year he gives on January 1st. He is committing, he's going to be missing out because he's giving it every solar year. He's not giving, or his zakat is wrong. He has to be giving it what? Every lunar year, because he will end up missing one over after 13, 15 years. He'll be missing out on one zakat payment. So that's the first thing. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ قُلْ هِيَ مَوَاقِيتُ لِلنَّاسِ. It has to be a lunar calendar. The reason let me just pinpoint the issue where people get confused. The people get confused about the part where it is mentioned in fiqh, and they heard and they know that there's a whole year passing. A whole year must pass. حولان الحول. So what they say is that, wait a second, the money must remain in my possession for an entire year for it to be zakatable. So they will only ask this question if they made a lot of money or inherited a lot of money, or a non-zakatable asset like a home was liquidated into cash, became zakatable a little while before their due date. If they made a lot of money, inherited a lot of money, got some money, or their house was in cash now because they are planning to, they're renting and they're going to buy another home. So right now, a $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 home, which was not zakatable, is now cash form in between, while they are still going to close on the new home. And the due date comes. So what they will say is that, wait a second, this money was not in my possession for an entire year. I just got it a week ago, a month ago, days ago, on my due date. So do I have to give zakat on the entire amount, even though it was not in my possession for a year? So people are hung up on the fact that each penny and cent and dollar must be in my possession for 1 year, and if it wasn't, then I don't have to give zakat. That is an incorrect understanding, right? There is the passage of zakat of a year, but the passing of the year is not on the money, it's on the person. Meaning, if you as an individual were in possession of a nisab in the beginning of a year or on a particular due date, and one lunar year afterward, on that lunar date, you are in possession of a nisab, you have to give zakat. The fluctuation that happens throughout the year is inconsequential. And for us to appreciate this, I want to give an example. If somebody has a direct deposit from his work on the 15th and 31st of the month, and he is, mashallah, very good in saving his finances and investing wisely. So his financial consultant told him that 10% of your income, just act like, consider you don't even own it, it's not yours, put it aside. So if you want to go with the formula that whenever any money is in your possession for a whole lunar year, passage of the year on the money, not on the person, then what happens is that every 15th of the month and 31st of the month, there's 10% of the money he put aside. 90% he's spending, 10% he's not spending, he's saving. So when will a year pass on that? A year later. So every 15th of the next month of the next year, every 30th or 31st of the next year, is he going to give zakat? Is he going to give zakat twice a month, every month? Or do you give zakat once a year? You give zakat once a year, right? So even though that money is remaining in your possession for an entire year, like in January 15, January 31st, February 15, February 28th, or February 29th of his leap year. So you have that is remaining in your possession. For a moment, let's forget about the lunar calendar to make it, I don't want to make it complicated. But because the salary is not coming on Ramadan 15 and Ramadan 29, and Shawwal 15, Shawwal 29. But that if it's remaining in your possession, so you will have to give zakat every 15th and 30th of that's not going to happen. You give zakat once a year. So if you look at this graph, that makes it easier. This picture speaks 1,000 words, right? This is in Ramadan 1443, in any year in Ramadan, if he has nisab, then throughout the year, sometimes his bank balance goes up, he has good days, he has bad days, even if it goes below the nisab throughout the year. But on his due date, for example, he discharges zakat on the 27th of Ramadan every year. So on the 27th of Ramadan, whatever he has in his account, he discharges 2.5% of that. It's so easy. In fact, it's so easy when people hear it or understand it, they think, no, I must be missing something. You're not missing something. Isn't that easy? It's absolutely that easy. You're not missing anything. On the due date, whatever you have that is zakatable asset, you give 2.5%. You don't have to worry, did this money just come? Because if sometimes people think, hey, that's unfair, I just got this money for a month ago, a week ago, the opposite is true. How is the opposite true? Opposite is true if that you had, mashallah, $1 million in your account the whole year. And right before the due date, I don't want to give an example of you losing it or getting stolen, because that's a bad example. We don't want that for anyone. But you took that zakatable asset and turned it into a non-zakatable asset by buying a mansion. So what happened? On your due date, there is no zakat on that money, even though you had the cash the whole year. If you do that with the intention to avoid zakat, that's haram, that's wrong, that's makruh, and that's like the Yahud in the past did. But, putting the traps to get the fish on Saturday when they're not supposed to fish. But technically, you don't have to give zakat. So if you lose money, if it's stolen, if you had a financial loss, or it turns into a non-zakatable asset just before your due date, you don't have to give it, even if it was in your possession the whole year. Likewise, on the flip side, if you never had money the whole year, it went down, but before your due date, you do have it, you have to give 2.5%. Because a year ago, you as an individual were sahibun nisab. So if a person is starting out as a young boy, he's growing and is a teenager now, he's earning for the first time. When he's earning for the first time, the day he hits the gold nisab and he has $6,000 savings, let's round it to 6,000. That is the first due date. And that's his anniversary now of zakat. From that date, Islamic calendar, one lunar year afterward, he has to give the zakat. And continually like that. But there is an amazing offer, buy one, get 70 free. Man adda faridatan fi kana ka man adda 70 faridatan fi ma siwa in Ramadan. So that's why most people, what they do is, they prepone and pay their zakat even if a year had not passed in the first Ramadan. So a person was earning and he started earning in Rabiul Awwal. On the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, he hit the nisab. Or any other date. So then Rabiul Awwal, Rabiul Thani, Jamadullah, Jamad Thani, Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan. Has a year passed? No. But he just gives his zakat. And after that, he can give it every Ramadan. Why? Because he'll get the 70 times. So is this clear about the fluctuation? This is important. Okay, that's why I paused. The starting date for zakat year is the occasion when the assets first meet. Like I said, 12th of Rabiul Awwal, or any time. The fluctuation of wealth throughout the year will not affect the determination of the due date. This is key. And if a person's wealth meets the nisab threshold at both the beginning and end, they're obligated to pay zakat. The only one scenario where a fluctuation will actually impact your calendar is if you not only go below nisab, khudana khasa la qadarullah, if a person hits rock bottom 0 or goes into debt. Then in that case, however many months had passed up till now are gone from the calculation. If and when he again hits the nisab, that's when a new calendar year count will begin. Okay, that's why this green line, it goes below the red nisab, but it doesn't go hit the bottom. Why does it not hit the bottom? Because if it hits the bottom, that count of that year is gone. And if and when it goes back to red, the count of a new year will begin from that date. Okay. See, this is what happens. If someone loses all their wealth, now look, see, this green line went to the bottom. They will need to reach the nisab threshold once again to restart the zakat year. This means that the date for the beginning of the new year will reset. That's why we have this line. What happens on this line? date for the beginning of the new year will reset. So all these months from Ramadan, Shawwal, Dhul-Qa'dah, Dhul-Hijjah, Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal, all this doesn't count. From Rabiul Awwal to Rabiul Awwal now. So next year on Ramadan, does he have to give zakat? No. You can wait till Rabiul Awwal. Okay? Or actually, he was here in Shawwal. So in Shawwal, does he have to give zakat? No. Why not? Because he had gone down to 0. So when he hits the nisab again, that's when the count of the year starts. I hope that's clear. Okay. What are the assets you have to give zakat? What are liable assets, zakatable assets? So we have a lot of different types of assets. Some of them are zakatable, some are not zakatable. This is very, very important to know for everyone. If somebody says, Alhamdulillah, the previous discussion does not apply to me because Allah's fadl, I'm always moving around above nisab. I'm never hitting below nisab. That's awesome, that's great, good for you. So don't worry about this. Now this one you have to worry about everybody, because everybody has zakatable assets and everybody has non-zakatable assets. Gold and silver in any shape or form, jewelry, bullion, coins, bricks. Brick sounds nice, brick of gold, right? Whatever it is all zakatable. And if you're in Dubai, if you had a toilet of gold, right? The whole toilet weight is solid gold. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. So the whole toilet is zakatable. Okay, cash is zakatable. It's not plated, remember, it's solid. Right? Okay, so cash is zakatable, of course. Business merchandise, anything bought with the intention of resale, hopefully for profit. Anything bought with the intention of resale, the entire value of that at the selling price. So that's why when we buy and sell stocks, we buy with the intention of selling, so the value of the stock is zakatable. And livestock is zakatable, but not many people are in animal husbandry. So we will not go into the zakat of baqar and ghanam and bint makhaz and haqqa, jiza and all of that stuff. And agriculture, if we are farmers, we can talk offline about there is zakat in agriculture. Now there's a lot of falsafa and the reason, hikmah behind this, which is beyond the scope tonight. Okay, so jewelry. Okay, now we're talking about, is that clear? That's it. This is all that's liable. This is an exhaustive list. It's a complete list. There's nothing missing. It's not like these are some zakatable assets and there may be others. No, this is it. So anything not on this screen is not zakatable, literally. Some FAQs, people say, what about that? What about this? Like when we do the fiqh of Sawm, we'll say, these things break your fast. Only these things. But then people ask, what about this, what about that? So we have another slide. These things will not break your fast. Like injection or eye drops. Right? So likewise, they do not break your fast. So over here, we'll also tell you what things people typically may think they're zakatable, but they are not. They are not. These are not liable for zakat. Jewelry other than gold and silver. Somebody says platinum is more expensive. Yeah, platinum is not zakatable. Diamonds are not zakatable. Sapphire, rubies, emeralds, they are all from the Sharia perspective like stones, like landscaping stones. Right. Okay. Cars are not zakatable. Any of these things listed here, if they're bought with the intention of selling, like you sell jewelry, you sell cars, then it will become zakatable. Household appliances, even if you have extra, they're not zakatable. Whether you use them or they're extra, they're not zakatable. In your primary home or secondary home or third home or vacation home, they're not zakatable. If you're giving the home out to rent, it's still not zakatable. Only in the rent you receive it's zakatable. Okay. When do you give zakat on household appliances? If you have a household appliance store and you're selling household appliances. For that matter, you have to give zakat on dirt if you're selling topsoil. Right. Okay. Properties. Properties are not zakatable. So whether it's a house you live in, a house you're renting out, the only time property would be zakatable if you're buying and selling properties. Then the value. And when you're actively selling it, if you're not sure what you're going to do with it, you have a lot. Pakistan mein ek lot liya hua hai, people ask, right? I have this lot in India, Pakistan, or here, anywhere. You're not sure what you're going to do with it, it's not zakatable until you put it on the market. Okay? So these are the zakatable assets we covered and the non-zakatable assets. There is one important thing which may be new for many people, is the non-zakatable assets are divided into two categories, not just for the fun of it, but because it has an impact. The non-zakatable assets are necessary and beyond necessary. Where some things are clear and objective, I will tell you, and where it's subjective, I'll also identify. This will become subjective. What is necessary and what is not necessary. Why do we need to divide the non-zakatable assets into necessary and beyond necessary is a question. Why? Keep that question in your mind. We will answer it in a moment. See these non-zakatable assets, these cars, appliances, properties. Let's just stop on properties. These are all non-zakatable, yes? But there are going to be two categories. They're necessary or they're not necessary. Necessary, for example, a house would be your own house, because you would live with your family. Roti, kapra, makan, sawari. These are the hawaij asliya. So having a makan, a home, this is considered a haja. But if you have additional homes, that is non-zakatable, but it's not necessary either, right? So this will have an impact. Okay? Necessary and beyond necessary. So household goods, clothes, cars, house, these are necessary. Beyond necessary, somebody has a fine art collection, you don't have to give zakat on it. The fine art, some of these people, Muslims, may Allah guide us and guide them, have bought like $50 million painting. For what? Just to be proud of the fact that I own a $50 million, 500, ajib things. So these things are non-zakatable. Jewelry, they're not necessary. High-end watches, sports cars, yachts, vacation homes. Right? These are all beyond necessary possessions, but they are non-zakatable. So what happens, okay, there are three people. I'm giving you a heads up. Person A, person B, and person C. So watch this. Person A, everybody knows this. This is a no-brainer. That if your zakatable assets are, this red line is your nisab. Your zakatable assets are above the nisab. So $6,000 was the gold nisab, a person has 10K in his bank. His non-zakatable assets, like his home, his car and everything, it's also above the nisab. Obviously, it's above 6,000. What does this person have to do? Does he have to give zakat? Yes, you betcha, right? Obviously. Can he receive zakat? No. He's liable to pay zakat and ineligible to receive. So it's farad to pay and he is not mustahiq to receive. Because his zakatable and non-zakatable, everything is above. This is very obvious. Is a preface to the one that's not obvious. Okay. This one is also obvious on the opposite extreme. His zakatable assets is not below 6,000 and 5,000. Let's go with below silver too. It's only $200 he has. Does he have to give zakat? No. And non-zakatable assets, like having a home, having yachts and fine art and appliances, he doesn't have that either. Miskinun dha mataraba, he's toiling in the dirt. He doesn't have clothes to cover his body. He doesn't have anything, he's a refugee. So this person, does he have to pay? No. Can he receive? No. Oh yes, he can receive. Of course he can receive. So he can receive, eligible to receive. Okay. Then we have this person C. This is an interesting one. This person, zakatable assets, like liquid cash, he doesn't have the nisab. He only has $200, $300, $500. But non-zakatable assets, he has a whole treasure house. Fine art, yachts, watches, homes. So when you tell him, brother, you have to give zakat, he says, I don't have to give zakat, I only have $200. I only have $300. But he has non-zakatable assets. These non-zakatable assets, the unnecessary ones, the extra ones, the value of it is far above the nisab, or above the nisab. So what are we going to tell him? You don't have to pay zakat, fine. On this, you don't have to pay because you don't have zakatable assets. But you cannot receive. I need money. Well, what are you going to tell him? Liquidate your non-zakatable assets. No, I'm not getting a good price. So what? Whatever price you get, sell it. Liquidate your non-zakatable assets. If you have an additional home, sell it. And then take care of your family. If he says, I don't have money to feed my family, they're starving, we will say that, take a loan and tell the guy that I'll sell my house and I'll give it to you. Even if you can't, right? So this is the person, is interesting because he doesn't have to pay, but he cannot receive. He is in the middle. Okay? So this is some test and practice. We will skip the test for today. All of these things Because you want to. So the stocks and assets, if a person acquired anything with the intention to sell, he has to give zakat on it based on the retail price. So if you have stock, you're not on the price you bought it for, but on the price on that day if you would sell it. Okay? Real estate is acquired with the intention of being leased out. You don't have to give zakat, as I said a few times already. And if there are multiple partners, they have to give it based on their percentage share. Okay? So if you have a business, you have cash, stock in trade, inventory, receivables, money people owe you, you have to give zakat on it. Or products that are going to come in that you have paid for. Non-zakatable, if you have machinery in your store or you have furniture that you're using, you're not selling it. All right? All of these things are non-zakatable. Anything you purchase to resell, the entire holding is subject to zakat. And if you have purchased for investment purposes, then it's just on the dividends and percentage of zakatable business assets. This is complicated a little bit. What this means is that if you buy a stock to sell, right, you have to give it on the entire value. But there's another share in the business where a Muslim brother is, he's a great cook and he doesn't have capital. So you are a silent partner in that business. You have invested money, but you own a share in that business. But the share you own in this halal restaurant is not like the share you own in Apple or Google or Tesla or something else. What's the difference? That you want to hold on to this long term. Right? You're not just sitting there to buy and sell. You're not going to ever sell. You don't plan to sell your share. Like I bought the share in the restaurant when it's lower value, and as the value of the share goes up, I'll sell it. That's not the concept here. So in that case, whatever dividends you get, whatever profit you get from the business, you have to give zakat on it. And the percentage of zakatable business assets, we can talk about this if somebody is in such a position offline, means that there's a value for that pizza restaurant. How much of that value is zakatable and how much is non-zakatable? Meaning the store itself, the building, brick, mortar is non-zakatable. The oven inside is non-zakatable. But the pizzas that are being sold are zakatable. Right? So you have to go and figure that out. There's more calculation required of how much zakat has to be given. But if you have another business partnership, you don't have a business partnership with Google or Tesla, it's that the share you have to give on the entire value. I wanted to go faster. I think it's maybe a few more minutes, and perhaps we'll have to do the part 2 tomorrow. Right? I'll try to go as fast as I could. You notice how many slides I skipped. But maybe it's a good opportunity for us to, like a cliffhanger, come back for more tomorrow, right? Where this is the whole debt scenario. So, yeah, this retro zakat giving for previous years, I will not talk about this. This is where I'll stop. This will be the ending for tonight. So we see the ending. There is the light at the end of the tunnel, and we will continue tomorrow. Okay. All right. So this is the last thing. We're going to talk about debts. There's dayn qawi, mutawassit, da'if. There are different types of debts. Okay, now I can kind of relax because I know where I'm going to end. Okay, you can relax too. When it comes to debts, people say, look, somebody owes me money, right? Where is the money? He has it. I don't have it. So why do I have to give zakat on it? My friend, my cousin, somebody, they borrowed money from me, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever. Depending on how close your friendship is and how much money you have, that's how much money you gave. You gave a friend in need. What is it? A friend in need is a friend indeed. So you gave him $10,000, mashallah. So now when you come to your zakat calculation time, do you have to give the zakat on the 10,000 he owes you and you don't have it? Right? So this is something we have to understand. It's your money. From a Sharia perspective, you actually have the right to demand it from him any time. And he has to give it to you. If he doesn't give it to you, it's sinful on him. If he has the money. مَثَلُ الْغَنِيِّ ظُلْمًا. It's dhulm. If you give him chance, مَنْ يَسَّرَ عَلَى مُعْسَرٍ. If you give chance to somebody who is in need, يَسَّرَهُ اللَّهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Allah will reward you on the day of judgment. Okay, but you do have the right to demand the money. Considering that it's your money and you have the right to demand it, you have to give zakat for it. And another thing I'll add, because it's, people are saying, I have to give zakat on the money I don't even have. To wrap your head around this, for you to appreciate it, is that when he is calculating his zakat, if he says that I have $12,000, I'm above the nisab of zakat, I'm over 6,000. Do I have to give 2.5% of 12,000? No. Why not? Because 10,000 I owe. So when he is calculating his zakat worksheet, the one who owes you money, he's going to make 10,000 as he's going to deduct it when he's doing his zakat calculation, which we'll get to tomorrow night, inshallah. What happens, he'll add up his assets. He says, I have $12,000, gold, silver, cash, everything. And 10,000 I owe to beloved brother. So take that out. So I have to give zakat on 2,000. Do I have to give zakat on 2,000? No, it's less than the nisab. I don't have to give zakat anymore. Because after deducting his debt, it's below the nisab in this example. And if he has, so he owes 10 and 6 is nisab. So you say if he has 17,000. So then he takes away 10. Then he'll have 7,000. He'll have to give zakat on 7,000. Not on 17. So he's not giving zakat on it because he owes it. And you're not giving zakat on it because I don't have it. Then nobody's giving zakat on it. The IRS doesn't let money go away. What about Allah Ta'ala, right? Allah is ala kulli shayin qadir, more powerful than the IRS. So that's why we have to, the one who gave the loan must pay the zakat on it. But what if he never pays you back? That's when we're going to talk about the different types of debts. Daynun qawiyun, the strong debt, is zakatable assets that are owed to an individual due to loans given or unpaid invoices. Two types, meaning you sold him something and he owes you money for it, or you gave him a qard, right? And it is wajib every lunar year on your due date, but the payment is not required until the money is received. What does this mean? That means that if you think maybe he won't pay me, maybe I'll never get it. You're worried about that, right? So that's why you'll have to calculate it on every due date. So it's farad on you every due date. But when you get it, you will have to pay it for all the past years. So it's farad every year, but the ada of it, meaning the payment of it, is required when you get the money. For as many due dates that have passed, lunar years. Okay? That's the qawi. The weak one refers to intangible receivables. For example, you have worked somewhere and they have not paid you the last month or last few months, right? So they owe you money. The employer owes you, but are you going to get paid? You don't know, so you don't have to give zakat for that. Unpaid rental for a landlord. It took it was very challenging. You had to go to the court to get the sheriff and evict the person. So technically, does that delinquent tenant owe you money? Yes. So when you're calculating your zakat, you have to give zakat on it? No, right? Outstanding mahar payment. The wife says that my husband still owes me the mahar. Outstanding bequest payment means somebody died and in their will, they wrote that this money is going to be given to you, wasiyah. Do you have to give zakat on it? This is the weak debt. So for this, when and if you get the money, then you have to give the zakat, not for the past years. So you see this bold text here on the strong debt, compare that with this bold text on the end of the weak debt. You see the difference. For the strong one, you have to give for the past years. For the weak one, you give only that year. A wife was dutifully serving her husband for 50 years. On the golden anniversary, he gives the mahar. So she has to give zakat for 50 years? No, 50 lunar years anniversary. Then we have bad debt. This is the worst, red. Scenario one, if he admits to owing it, he has money, he's insolvent, he doesn't have money. Either way, if he acknowledges that, I owe you, and then after that, he sees you, he goes the opposite way. Al-qaradu miqaradu al-muhabba. Right. And then the debt is not excluded from the creditor's zakat liability. However, If he's unable to recover it, despite his acknowledgement, it will not be subject to zakat ever. You're not getting it, so you don't have to give zakat past years, nor do you have to give for this year because you're never getting it. And if he denies it, there is absolutely no zakat now because you can't verify it. This is the bad debt. From here, we have the deductibles. This is a new chapter. We'll stop right here, in fact, right? So this is, alhamdulillah, just to recap, so don't forget, there were some fadail in the beginning. We talked about virtues. We talked about a few warnings for not giving zakat. We talked about the pillar of the deen. So the main thing to recall, so we don't forget until we come, is about, we talked about in detail the passage of the year. It's on the person, not on the money. And we talked about zakatable assets, non-zakatable assets. And the non-zakatable are divided into necessary and unnecessary. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will start with deductibles. When you're calculating your zakat, what are the deductibles? What things can you deduct? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to make amal. We have some announcements before we conclude with a brief dua. Is there some new announcement? Oh, which group is it? You can go ahead, Yaqub. What's that, Brother Yaqub? Oh, you have zakat scales. You have like for weighing gold and silver. If somebody has a lot of gold coins, gold jewelry, silver, there's a scale you can purchase. How much is it for? 10 dirhams. Okay, so it's for $10 you can purchase a zakat scale, inshallah, and start working on it. We have homework, inshallah, and we'll see you for the zakat class tomorrow. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. Oh Allah, allow us to fulfill this obligation, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, there's so severe warnings for not discharging zakat. Oh Allah. When it comes to our taxes, we go to the accountant, we go and we ensure that we pay our taxes. This time is the Ramadan and the tax season is at the same time. April 15th is coming, April 10th is Eid. So we're worried about our taxes. But oh Allah, when it comes to zakat, we are so negligent. Oh Allah, we do not take it serious. Oh Allah, do we have more fear of IRS than we have of you? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, Ya Allah. Give us your fear, give us taqwa, and allow us to understand this obligation. Whether the police comes in dunya or not, oh Allah, whether we go to court or not for not paying zakat, we will have to go to your court on the day of judgment, Ya Rabbil Alameen. You are the Malik Yawmuddin, you are the master of the day of judgment. Oh Allah, give us your fear and the fear of the day of judgment, and allow us to discharge this obligation in the correct manner, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun al mursaleen.